Alright, welcome to the second part of my video. This is going to be a very basic explanation of our launcher and what you should do. This is a bit more updated than our previous videos, so bear with me. Alright, so you've logged in successfully. We're going to click this plus button here, or positive, or whatever you'd like to call it. Probably plus. Anyway, it's going to enter our Relic Online name. And now what that is it has to match your Steam profile name exactly. So if our name is Jim, Bob, whatever, it has to match that exactly that you are going to be using in Steam. For now, we're going to be using, oh my goodness me, we'll be using that. I am terrible with names, so I apologize. I have a terrible memory. We're going to click enter, and that's going to be our, that'll be our Steam name exactly. It has to match it, caps and everything exactly, okay? So we're going to go ahead and choose our doctrine here. Click the plus sign. Now, there's 4 basic factions. We got the British, the Americans, the Wehrmacht, and the Panzer Elite. So, depending on what you would like to play, you will go ahead and click the faction you would like to play. We're going to go with the American, and we're going to choose a doctrine of infantry. I'll go into explaining these a bit more. We're just going to go ahead and click infantry. There we go, we got our faction set. Now you can create a couple of these until these are all filled out. So you can pick one for every faction, or maybe a couple of the same faction and the same doctrines but with different builds. Go crazy. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and click enter battle on top of the corresponding faction. And here we are. We're going to go to, let's go to the doctrine screen. Alright, this is the doctrine screen. This is where you're going to be doing a lot of your business and where you're going to be exploring probably most of your time for a little while. Now, we have a total of 15 points for the doctrine selections and a total of 8 points for the unlock selections. A tier 1 unlock here is going to cost you 1 point. Tier 2 is going to cost you 2 points. Tier 3 is going to cost you 3 points. And a tier 4 is going to cost you 4 points. So what you want to do is that all these little selections give different bonuses and buffs to your army and units. For instance, if I take tank reapers, this little buff here applies to my anti-tank guns, my 57s that I'm going to bring, which is 25% extra penetration, accuracy, and 15% damage to it, which is pretty good. Same with this, all moving infantry, 50% moving accuracy. Alright, so we're going to pick what we would like to play. We're going to go for, let's go ahead and pick Operation Overlord, which is really gonna, the entire line is gonna buff my riflemen and their ability to, their firepower, and hopefully. Anyway, so we got 2 more left over after we've chosen a tier 4. So we can choose another tier 2. Let's choose bipods. Now, as you can see, we have 0 here. We have used them all up, which is what you want to do. You want to end up with 0. That means you're using them to your best. Okay? Now, you can mix and match these, so you can go 2 tier 3s instead of a tier 4. You can go any which way you want. Okay, as long as you use your points up. Alright? So we're going to go for something like that. If you wanted to, but we're not. Anyway, now we're going to go on to the doctrine unlocks. The doctrine unlocks are going to be units you unlock for your specific doctrine. Since we're using Operation Overlord, we're probably going to want some rangers, probably going to want some first aid, probably going to want a triage, or we're going to want infantry equipment. Now this is tough. This is what you're going to spend some of your time on, like I said. These are going to give you different units that buff your army. So once we got this, that works the same up here. By the way, is that you got 0 points now because originally you had 8 to begin with. And tier 3 costs 3 points. See how that changes? Don't worry about this stuff for the moment. It doesn't mean anything. Anyway, once we have these at 0 and 0, we're going to go ahead and click accept changes. Alright, we are at the company screen, which is right next to the doctrine tab up here. And we are going to look at what we can do with it. Okay, so as you see, they have all these different units here. All right. You got your manpower, your munitions, and your fuel. Okay. You got all these different tabs. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to do a very basic starting call-in. A very simple build, okay? Usually you bring 2 forms of anti-tank. So we're going to do something like this. Now, when you bring a unit, you click and you drag it to the selected box. This is your pop. You start off with a base of, I think, 25 pop, if I am correct. You cannot go over it in your columns, but you can go under it. Keep in mind that if you go below 8 pop in a call-in, it increases your timer in the game, which is you really do not want to do. So it is always best to have 8 pop or above. But for little call-ins, sometimes people will do 5 pop. As long as there's very few and there's not a lot, okay? You'll be fine. So anyway, our first call-in is probably going to be, this is what you're going to start off with. You start off with 25 pops, so it needs to be a pretty balanced build. It doesn't have to be this necessarily, but since you're new and you're beginning, a balanced build would probably work best for you. As you can see, we have selected our Rangers, which is green box. And these have all the unlocks, okay? So we want to give them probably bazookas. So we're going to get 2 bazookas, and that's going to cost 80 munitions, okay? Now, after we got that, we're going to choose, probably going to choose a grenade and a smoke grenade. And that tells you right there what it's going to cost in total. It's 130 munitions, 6 pop. Alright, and for our anti-tank gun, we're going to choose AP rounds, which increases the overall damage as it does in VCO and penetration, which is always a safe bet to do. We're going to get an engineer, squad of riflemen, and I think we'll get a Jeep, and we'll get an HMG. Alright, so we haven't used, we got 24 pop here, so we got room for 1 more. We're going to put a minesweeper in there. Alright, we're going to AP rounds here. We're going to get a repair on the Jeep. We get some mines, some flames on the engineer. We probably need some aggressive firepower. So why don't we get some bars with a sticky? Alright, so it's a pretty high-powered, very well-rounded beginning. So you want to try and make this last as long as you can. Obviously no suiciding. We're going to go ahead and click accept changes here. Once that's clicked, the company has taken effect and it is now going to work correctly. But anyway, what we want to do mainly is we want to try and use all these resources as possible. Okay, or as much as the resources as possible. I will upload some, I will do some standard builds on the next video on, you know, what you should do just to begin with. Of course, it's all up to you, so do not hesitate to experiment a little, but if you deviate from the builds I'm going to be doing, you might run into a little bit of trouble until you actually start learning the game a bit more. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon in the launcher and in-game.